Hi guys! For today's video I wanted to do something completely different and kind of start talking a bit about my submission story, my querying story. I've been a bit obsessive with these over the last couple of days. I have not been able to stop watching them. Like people's, how they got an agent and things like that, because that's the process that I'm back in at the minute. And over the last year or so, I was actually submitting my novel called Heart of Silver, which had several title changes. But since I'm back in the process again now, I kind of wanted to talk about my older process first, and then eventually, once I start getting some responses from this process, I can talk about this process later on. So, yeah. Basically, I wrote Heart of Silver shortly before uni. It had a completely different title then. I think it was To Steal a Silver Heart or something like that. But it was a book I loved. Like, it was a sort of android girl who discovered that her parents had been keeping her reality a secret, because she kind of pretty much looked and felt like she was a normal girl. And that book changed and changed and changed over the course of like 3 years, because I started revising it while I was at uni. And then I kept submitting it to different agents eventually around last year, around this time last year I think, actually. And I remember submitting it to Penguin, and basically when I was at university we had I had this book mostly finished. Like, I hadn't really decided to send it out anywhere yet, or I think I tried in the past but hadn't got anywhere with it, and like a lot of rejections. And we had this unit where we could do whatever we wanted. This in third year, so I stumbled across Penguin Island's page. For some reason I don't know if that was the right decision, obviously now because of where I am and things, but I thought I'd just like go for it at the time and just see what happens. A little while later I had this strange inkling feeling, because I lived in Luton at the time, for uni, that after work, when I was seeing my boyfriend at the time, I had this inkling feeling that I needed to go to the uni library, and look at my emails, because I think my phone was playing up or something. So I went to the uni library. I'd been doing all my work and everything, email checking like crazy, because I'd sent this thing about 3 days before. Only 3 days before, this is the strange thing as well. She replied straight away, pretty much, saying, I've sat there at the uni library on this Mac computer and read this email from a lady called Claire Hennessy at Penguin Island, who was absolutely lovely. It was basically a revise and resubmit. Like, she basically said, well, if I give you, it's not for our list right now, but if you give us all of this, if you were to do all these different things, alright, you'll just change these about your story, and then resubmit, I'd happily take another look. And my plan at the time, like, I was massively over the moon. Like, that whole night, that just kind of like made my entire year, because I'd never had any kind of response like that, even though, like I said, it was a rejection technically, but it just made me feel so happy about my book. So I decided to start trying to make the changes like straight away, because I was obviously quite impatient at the time. And I sent it. I didn't send it straight away, from some advice from my uni lecturers at the time, I think, because he said to be quite patient and just make the changes and then do it when I feel like it's absolutely ready. And of course my little heart was just going, no, want to send like straight away, but I shouldn't have done, and I'm glad I didn't at first. Then later on with her, the same thing with her, I started revising the book and then I kind of paused it, but I think I still used it in the unit, so I mentioned what my experience was with her and a few other queries, because I'd got a few other like rejections and things. So I mentioned that in my essay, my assignment, my little portfolio presentation thing we did. And then later on, I think I ended up submitting in DV Pit, which I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's like a Twitter post, like pitch page. Sorry, where you basically keep tweeting about your story and genre and word count and everything, and then if an agent or editor at a publishing house decides to like that, like favourite that tweet, that means they want you to submit it to them. So then you submit the first 3 chapters or whatever they ask for, and they'll usually have a tweet saying what they want to see for the people that they've requested, basically. And I sent that back to someone that had actually liked it, and didn't realise how big that actually was until later on. I ended up submitting it to Susie Townsend at New Leaf Literary, which is in America. So again, not the best thing for me probably, but it was all experience. Yeah, so we'll go back to Claire Penguin. I ended up a year down the line, I think it was about a year later, I ended up submitting it again because I'd done a lot of revisions. I've completely changed the book. I changed the genre, I made it futuristic, I changed the world. I started writing the sequel, I finished the first draft of the sequel. I kept going with it, and I think I was still querying at the time, but then I kind of put it on a pause, and it's been on a pause for quite a while, since I've gone to my new book. But back to Heart of Silver, I ended up transferring back from uni, back home to MK, and living with my parents. I had already submitted to Claire Penguin at Penguin. I was waiting for a response. Sorry, just like adjusting my position. Yeah, her response had been lovely, so I eventually submitted it back and was really, really happy. About 4 months later, I think it was, I managed to become a supervisor at my shop, The Works, that I was currently working at in MK. I was promoted, and that the same night that I had my very, very first shift, like closing shift as a supervisor, like completely on my own, like trying to learn the ropes and everything. I'd had quite a bad shift, like I think I lost my keys for a short time, found them in the end, and was very, very stressed out. But on the bus home, I checked my emails and had one from Claire at Penguin saying, thank you for resending it, and can I take a look at the whole thing? So I had a full request, and I was so happy. So I basically was like so happy the entire way home. I think I sent it back the next morning because I was quite tired after work, and it was quite late when I got home. So I sent that back the next morning. When I eventually got then not long after that, I think it was a few days later, I got my reply from Susie Townsend, which was another full request from her reader, who'd read it and decided they liked it and asked for more. So she asked for a full request too, so I sent that back. And I think it was about 4 months after, Susie replied on that one fairly quickly with a form rejection, which was fair enough. But about 4 months after I sent to Claire, and literally the night before I was due to get my typewriter tattoo. This was the really strange thing as well, because I keep getting these weird things with my tattoos. Like with my rose, I booked it for my nan's birthday without realising it until like a few days before I was due to get the tattoo, and the tattoo that I was getting was in memory of my nan. But with the typewriter, I forgot about this actually for a while. This fairly nice, another nice rejection, but came through the night before I was due to get that tattoo. It was basically just like really nice way of saying, like, it's not for our list, but like, well done, and I can see that you have like talent, and like, I wish you every luck in the future and all that kind of standard thing. But it wasn't standard at the same time. It was personal, and it just made me feel really good about my book. And those were the 2 requests I got, and all the others were rejections. But I submitted to quite a few agents that I really admire, and I've resubmitted to them this time, so a few of them. But yeah, it's a scary experience, and it makes your heart like thud every time you see a rejection come through. Like, I literally just had one come through now, so I think that's why I decided to film this video right now. But I have been meaning to for a little while. But yesterday and today are my days off at work, and yesterday I spent pretty much all day deciding to watch people's videos, and like videos on submitting, and people's experiences on submitting and things like that, because it's nice to see that like everyone's got their completely unique experiences with it. And yeah, so that was my experience for Heart of Silver. Like, I had started a completely new novel, which is now on submission again. It's about a year after all that happened, so I'll probably have another video at some point to update you with, to see how that one goes. So wish me luck. Thanks guys, bye.